Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a bit of a deep dive into a relatively old mechanic, but something which is going to be made slightly newer. We're going to be talking about territory capture. We're going to be talking about how it works, how to score, some tactics, obviously what's coming up in terms of changes, and I'm also going to throw in some suggestions for future runs. So territory capture was launched around 3 years ago and it's looked identical pretty much ever since, with a couple of minor tweaks to services, the addition of a jellyfish service for people to get ISS jellyfish blueprints. Aside from that, not a great deal has changed. A couple of events have ran around these, whereby starting and winning territory battles has scored points in the likes of an alliance leaderboard, but aside from that, it became pretty stagnant. And we know that our territory map, I'm talking specifically about the ones on my server, it's all pretty much handled with diplomacy. If you want to move, you speak to the alliances, you arrange territory swaps, and that wasn't the idea. The idea for this was to be a PvP war zone, and hopefully it's going to get back to something like this. There are some really fundamental issues with territory capture, which worked 3 years ago that don't work now, but we're going to talk about those, and we're going to talk about what I think could do to improve territory capture. But first of all, we need to talk about what territory capture is, how it works, just to give people an idea, especially with this big upcoming change to the way that territory capture is going to work. First place to start, let's talk about the layout of territory capture. So territory capture is made up of a number of systems. There are 54 territories in total. This is made up of 30 Tier 1 territories, 18 Tier 2 territories, and then 6 Tier 3 territories. These are easily identifiable. When you actually see the map, you can see that when you see a system, this one, for example, you look at Asita. Asita is a 1-star territory. It's got one little star there. You find a 2-star territory, this one here, which is Anzat. Anzat has got 2 stars, make it a 2-star territory, and then a 3-star territory, exactly the same. It's got 3 little pips on there. So you can easily identify which is the 1, which is the 2, which is the 3-star territories. Now, one thing to point out is that each of these individual territories all have services. So I talk about services. If you go into a system, you can look through what's called the embassy. There is an embassy in every single system right in the middle. You can click on it and you can enter that embassy. So each one has services, as we can see over here on the left hand side. So defense enhancer, improved 3-star oxygen refinery, and the phantom generator. We're going to get onto the particles and the generators and stuff in a second. Improved oxygen refinery basically meaning that you can get more of your isogen emulsion for refining the raw isogen, and defensive enhancers are the specific services which are going to give a buff. So here we can see that this defensive enhancer in Bessemer, who's a 2-star territory, gives an 80% base shield, deflection, armor, and dodge to all ships. Basically means it's increasing your mitigation for all of your ships. And these do have a cost in which to activate, which again we're going to go through that when we talk about the resources and materials and things, but very, very straightforward. These are the services, and every single set of systems has its own individual services. Some of them are duplicated and some of them are tied to race. Now, for example, every single 2-star territory has this improved 3-star isogen refinery service. Every single 2-star system has an advanced generator of some kind, and whether that'll be for one of the 3 main particles, so that'll be Phantom, Quantum, or Surax, has an advanced generator for one of those. So if we go to our 1-star system, our 1-star system being Baku, you will see that the services for these are different. And we have over here, we have a PvP combat enhancer, which is a 25% base weapon damage increase when fighting player ships. This one, like every other 1-star system, has an improved 1-star and 2-star isogen refinery. And again, it has a standard, not an advanced particle generator. Now, one thing to note with these generators. So when you're in the 1-star systems and you see a non-advanced generator, these will allow you to earn 100 of that particular particle every single day. So if you go into your bundle redeems and then you go into the territory tab, you will see that you have phantom particles. Now these are for our 2 territories, and our 1-star territory is giving us this generator. So phantom particles, it's allowing us to get 100 phantom particles for 5 of the ISO emulsion. The advanced particle generator, which is found in tier 2 systems, will allow you to double up. So you can do the same cost, but you can get another 100 phantom particles, in essence doubling up the amount of phantom particles that I can get every single day from our territories. Now, if you had two territories that were both 1 star with phantom particle generators, only activate one. These do not stack. So if you activated multiple standard phantom particle generators, you would not be able to do double redeems. It's only one. Likewise, if you had two lots of advanced, you would still only get one. So be careful when you are managing your territories that you only activate one standard generator and one advanced generator for each of the particles that you have for your alliance. Now, the fourth particle, because we've mentioned the three that are available in the tier 1 systems, the other particle is only available in tier 3 systems. Now, remember that there are 6 different tier 3 systems. So we're going to pick Darks and we're going to pick Brillen here. So if we go into the embassy for this one, we can see the services. And as I mentioned before, the jellyfish constructor, this is what activates a redeem in that territory store I was just showing you for you to be able to get ISS jellyfish blueprints from this service if activated. And this one offers the Metreon particle generator. The Metreon particles, similar to the other 3 particles, are specifically for research, which we will cover in a second. But the Metreon particles at the moment are only for 3 researches. So I will quickly show you what the different researches are in the tree. So the tree we're talking about is obviously the territory tree, and the first section up to here doesn't use any particles. Once you go past this section, all these researchers use different particles depending which row that you are talking about. And you can see at the top, it tells you which particles they are. So the top ones is this symbol, which is the quantum. The middle row is phantom particles, and the bottom row is Sorax particles. And when you click on one of the specific researches that needs them, you can see that it takes the particles, plus it also takes this currency ISO emulsion. So the only 3 researches that actually require you to use Metreon particles are here. There's these 3 here. So shield enhancements, weapon development, and hull stability. Improving shields, improving hull, and improving weapon damage output. So once you've finished these 3 nodes, there is no need for you to start redeeming any more Metreon particles unless they introduce any more researches which are going to use those specific particles. But this little key on each research node telling you which particles are needed for them, I think are quite handy. So the other material that you need in here is iso emulsion. Now, iso emulsion is gained by mining raw isogen, and there are 3 kinds of this. So there is 1 star, there is 2 star, there is 3 star, and you can see that all of these in terms of 2 and 3 star are only mineable in territories. So if I change that to mining, we can see that every single 1 star system, 1 star set of territories does have a 2 star isogen node. And certain of the 1 star territories also allow you to be able to get 1 star isogen. Now, the other option to this in 1 star territories is that you have your 2 star isogen nodes, but you also have a basic RSS node as well. So for example, here in Glider, we have got the 2 star, which every single 1 star has got, but you also got tritanium nodes. So being strategic and finding a system, you can see here with our alliance, we've made sure that we've got all 3 different isogens in our territory, 1, 2, and 3-star isogen to be able to mine. And every single 2-star system has 3-star isogen nodes, and every single 3-star has no isogen whatsoever. They are purely for material refining. So you can see here that in Brellan, we've got 4-star nodes, we've got 3-star nodes in the other 2. Now remember that G5 nodes are being added in the new patch. So this is going to be very interesting to see how they do that. But we know that G5 is going to be added as well. So again, updating that a little bit more to current gameplay, because we know that 3-star is not really something that, especially on legacy servers, that people mine very often. I know myself, I only mine it once every sort of 6 to 8 weeks just to keep that refinery ticking along. So having the 5-star in there could be very, very advantageous to people. Now, 1-star ISO, as much as it is available in some 1-star territories, you also can mine this even if you are not on the territory map. So you have 3 systems here, which are to the right of the territory capture. So if I zoom out a bit so you can see where it is. So just to the left of this system, Perim, you can see that you've got 3 1-star isogen systems. You can also mine this in every single one in purple space. So in all these spaces, you can see that apart from the 3 token gated systems, which have 3-star materials in, every other non-locked system has 1-star isogen nodes within them. So you can mine that. Once you've mined your isogen, you then take that into your refinery. Into the territory refinery, you have a 1-star, a 2-star, and a 3-star isogen refine. And the best one to refine for emulsion for the research is tier one. You get more bang for your buck in the 1-star ISO than you do in the 3-star. So for example, one chest, 73,000 1-star pays 16,500 ISO emulsion for me. One chest at 3-star only pays 5,500. Now remember, these will be affected if you have the Meridian skin. That increases, obviously, that adds this additional 4 chest redeem to your bundles. They are very, very, very expensive. However, it does allow you to increase the amount of emulsion that you get from those territories. So that's ISO emulsion that you use. We've understand particles, you know how they are used for research, and it's important that you check because different areas of the systems have different particles within them. So when we look back at the map, for example, there are sections of the map that have phantom, that have quantum, and that have the Suract particle. I'm just going to quickly pull up a map now to show you how that looks. So as you can see here, this is the territory map all laid out. There's a key in the top right hand side, and you can see that it's linked to race. So for example, Sulabon and Corvelan races have quantum particles, Tholan and the Breen have phantom particles, and the Trill and the Bolian have Surax particles. And you can see from this map, you can see the little pictures. Obviously the key on the side is going to show you where they are, but you can see that they are pocketed. So for example, in the top left hand side, most of that is then quantum. Up to the top right hand side, you then go to sort of Surax. And then if you go down to the bottom left-hand side, you can see that there are lots of phantom particles. So there are lots and lots of different services and territories that are obviously paying the different types of particles. So bear that in mind when you are planning your route through territory capture in order for you to be able to get the particles that you want or need. This is going to be a good opportunity. Like for example, for us, we haven't had quantum particles for a long, long time. So when we look at our strategy, I think we are going to be having to look at something quantum related, which means that we may need to be looking at something towards the bottom right hand side of the map or in the very top left hand side to make sure that we are getting quantum particles to assist our alliance with research, because we are swimming in Surax, we are swimming in phantoms, so that should be our plan. So think about that when you are planning where you want to go with regards to territory capture. It'd be remiss of me not to talk at this point about planning a route. Now, when you're planning a route with territory capture, you must start off with a tier one system. So a tier one system, if you are not on the map at all, a tier one is where you must start. You cannot go straight in at tier three. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose up here, we're going to choose a system such as Helvey. We're going to choose Helvey as a starting point as a system. So if we wanted to take Helvey, it's a 1-star territory. If we take that, that's brilliant. Now, in order for us to decide on our next path, your path must be connected by a warp path in order for you to go to the next system. So from Helvey, we basically have 3 options. You can see the warp paths here. We could either go north into Zion, we could go right into Lenara, or we could go down and left into Klefarski. If we go into one of those 3 systems, they are connected by these 3 warp paths. They will allow us to do that. Even though it looks like Helvey is adjacent to Tefraki, because we cannot have a warp path between those 2 systems, we would not be able to join this territory capture without first taking either Xi'an, or we'd have to get down to Vantar to be able to do it. We can't even do it from Klefaskiluk because there is no direct warp path up there. Even though they are connected in theory on the sides, without a warp path, you cannot take that next territory. So you have to start off with a 1-star territory and you must remain connected. So if we was in Helvey and we wanted also to take Tefkari, we wanted to take those 2 territories, they were our goal. We would have to either go Helvey to Klefaski, to Vantar, to Tefraki, or we would have to go from Helvey up to Zion, across to Tefkari. So I'm getting the names of these wrong. I'm terrible with names. And obviously the names are all a bit crazy anyway. So we would have to find a path to get through to those. So you'd have to do it that way. Now, having a 1-star doesn't mean you have to then move on to a 2-star, because you can see here Helvey is connected to another 1-star in Lenara. So you can go 1-star to 1-star. You can go 1-star to 2-star. The only connections to 3-star territories are 2-star territories. So in order for you to get to a 3-star, you cannot go from a 1-star. You can see if we take Makala up here, it is connected to this 2-star Hubadashian. It's connected to this 2-star in Tris, and it's taken from this 2-star in Zion. So to get a 3-star, you must first go through a 2-star. In order to get a 2-star, you must start off at a 1-star. Now, one thing in relation to services, you must remain contigual. You must remain connected in order for you to activate a service. So let's say you had, like this alliance do here, RSQD, Rogue Squadron, shout out Meta, shout out Horny, shout out Andy. You must first, if you had all five of these, as RSQD do have now, and let's say they lost or decided to drop Zion up here. So they've kept the 3 star. They thought, I've got my 1 star, I've got my 2 star, but I don't want this one anymore. I want to come up here and take this. Because we would lose this territory, you would no longer be able to activate any additional services, such as Makala or any of these three territories, because they are no longer in a full connected loop. They would have to retake this to activate any service. Any service that was already activated would continue until that timer run out, because they are all on weekly timers. Everything is on a weekly timer. However, you must remain connected in order for you to be able to activate any new services to be able to do that, or even to take another territory. So they wouldn't be able to take this territory if they did drop this one, because they are no longer connected, so they can no longer take any more territories. They would have to reconnect in order for them to go back, or drop these three, or drop Makala to then be able to join this territory. So you do need to think about it when you are planning your strategy. Now we talk about the weekly schedule. I think it'd be a good idea for us to bring that up now. So the weekly schedule. So this is the easiest way for us to demonstrate this. Now, territory capture cycle in essence starts on a Wednesday. You can see on the right hand side, Tuesday is always a blank day, meaning that nothing happens in relation to territory capture on a Tuesday. So each day is split up into, and it's specific to stars of systems. So for example, on a Wednesday, we have 10 1-star takeovers. On a Thursday, we have 2 stars. We then have 1 stars. Every Saturday is when all 6 of the 3-star territories. We then have the remaining 10 1-star territories, and then 2 stars on a Monday. So every day it will either be a 1-star, a 2-star, or a 3-star day. Now, when you're looking at these, you can see, and this little chart might allow you to plan your path. So when you think I want X, Y, and Z, you might look at them and say, oh wow, so the first one's not actually until next Monday, which means that we're gonna have to be out of territory for 6 days. Do we need to rethink our strategy? Let's say our first territory that we wanted to take was on a Sunday, and it was Tamari, because we need to start on a 1-star system. Are you happy being out of territory in essence when this gets reset, which will be on a Tuesday? Are you happy to wait 5 days? You need to think about this. Now, what happens when you lose a territory or when territories get reset? I think this is a key thing for people to know and to understand. When it resets, a couple of big things to point out. Shields. If you already have a peace shield active in your territory, when the territories either get reset or if you lost the territory through a battle, any remaining shield you have would continue and you would be protected. What you would be unable to do would be to reapply a shield if you do not own that territory. So you've got to think whether it's worth you staying in there or whether you move out prior to territories being reset on that Tuesday. Now remember that this is phase one of this. This is going to be a 3-month rolling thing, so you will get used to territories being reset on a quarterly basis. First one happening in October of 2023. Get used to this. Start planning. If you want to retake the territories that you're in, do you throw a 7-day shield so that you've got bases in that system? Because when we come on to scoring and things in a second, you will find that obviously having bases in the system is a major advantage. So think about that whilst you're thinking about your strategy for territories moving forward. Now, I think a good thing for us to do is to talk about the actual scoring and how do you actually take over a territory capture. So in order for you to join a territory capture, you must buy entry. You must buy entry into that takeover. So when you go to buy it, you will literally go into the system. You will see that a timer will appear in this top right-hand corner once the territory battle starts. Somebody of at least Commodore rank or above, so basically your admirals or commodores, will be needed in order for you to be able to join the territory. If anybody hasn't seen it, if you go into your alliance page and click on this eye in the top corner, it actually brings up a list of what people can do with specific ranks within your alliance. So if you look at Admiral and Commodore and we think about specific things for territory capture, it needs an Admiral or a Commodore to either abandon zones, to activate services, to join takeovers. Things like that need to be done by a Commodore or an Admiral. So you must ensure that one of those is online. If you don't have any Commodores and you've only got the Admiral, it's all down to one person. So really think about that. If you are a sole Admiral Alliance and you have no Commodores, think about it because you may need help with that, especially because this is going to be a regular occurrence of these things being reset. Once you've joined a territory, you then need to score. And in order to score, what that involves is you having ships in those systems. So every system has at least two. So 1 and 2 star territories have two systems, and 3 star territories have three systems. What happens is in these systems, let's say this was the takeover, it was Bimasa. What would count in this system would be any ship from my alliance being just in the system, anywhere at all, scores 1 point. In each system, there are these. These are capture nodes. Capture nodes earn a bonus 3 points per minute. 3 points per minute. So in essence, you have a ship on a capture node, you score 4 points per minute. When we are talking about scoring and we say about per minute, the only thing that counts is the ships that are in the system as the minute mark ticks over. So if you're in there for 59 seconds and you're killed with a second to go, you will score no points. On the turn of the minute, that is when the system is swept by a scanning tool of some kind. How many ships are in there? That's how many points you get. If you're on a capture node, it will award your team 4 points. If you are just out in space somewhere, or if you're on a mining node, you will score 1 point. Really key to think about. Cloaked ships do count. 1 point to note. Cloaked ships do count. So if you send a ship into a system and cloak it, for as long as that's cloaked, every single turn of the minute, that will count. If you try and put a cloaked ship on a capture node, it will lose its cloak. Beware of that. If you put it onto a mining node, it will lose its cloak. Beware of that. So just leaving a crap ton of cloaked ships in the system, very good. The longest cloak in the game is on the amalgam. So think about it. And that can also bleed into strategy. Like, say, for example, if I try to look in Zamaro, it's under fog of war, I cannot see that system. Now, let's pretend that I send my Titan in there, and let's pretend my Titan is an amalgam and it's cloaked. By having a ship in the system, that allows me to be able to locate and see inside that system. So I stick this, which we're pretending is an amalgam, in the system. It's cloaked. Nobody else can see it. Nobody can attack it. It allows me to view the entire system. And what that will allow me to do is for the turn of the minute, if I want to use a really small ship like Rialta or something like that, which is decent at scoring because it's quick, it's nimble, it's cheap, it's fast to repair, it's really good ship to use in territory capture. What it would allow me to do, by having a ship in the system, I can choose my entry point. So I could just choose that up here on this edge, I just want my Rialta to sneak in at the side there. Whereas if you don't have a ship in the system, you can't be that specific as to where you want your ship to appear in the system. So use a cloaked ship in a system to be able to have sight of the system and choose your entry points for your ships. Because you might notice that they have a big barrage here because the entry points into systems are based on the warp paths. So the only way that people can come into this system is either going to be from this side or it's going to be from up here because this is where the warp paths come from. So if I just send a ship here, you will see that it comes from this side because this is where the warp path was. So even though I was over here, it's going to send it from that direction. So be really, really mindful as to your warp paths and how things work. It's important to note. Next thing, stations. So several territories do have station housing. So for example, if we look in Bismarck Alpha, because we're using that as our takeover example, we have stations in here. Stations count as one ship, regardless whether it's got 6 ships in it, regardless whether it's got 0 ships in it. Every single base that is in a system will count for 1 minute, 1 point. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about your initial strategy of taking over territories. If you've got 20 bases in a system, that's 20 points a minute that you've got without even sending a ship out. Obviously, it's quicker for me when the clock gets to 55 seconds, so we're approaching a minute, for me to quickly pop a ship out as it is to actually think about the time and the warp time and the charge time and all that sort of thing. It's very quick for me to get a ship out of a base and then nip it back in once the minute marker's passed. It's a really good strategy. Having bases in a system is a huge advantage. So remember that there are ships that are specifically good on nodes. Now, the ship that I'm talking about is the sarcophagus. I hate the sarcophagus. It was specifically made for territory capture. I think if you are on a legacy server and you have got lots of high G4 and G5 ships, the Sarco will be useless. If you are on a newer server, the Sarco may still have some weight for you because it does have a massive damage bonus during territory capture fights when sitting on a node. It says capture node, but it means on a node. So if you was on an Isogen node or one of these crystal nodes during an active takeover, your sarcophagus boost will still be active. So very important to think about. Ships that you use, I would suggest if you are one of the bigger players in your alliance, you would maybe have one or two decent ships crewed for PvP to take people off capture nodes. The rest of the time, you want to be running low, small, cheap ships. You want to be running Rialtas and Tauruses and crew them for speed. Just throw them around the system and just use the system's edge, use the speed of your Rialta. Remember the skin if you haven't already unlocked it, but you did acquire it, unlock that for your Rialta so it can just nip around the systems and scoot around the edges to keep your ship in the system to be able to score points. And that is the basics of territory capture. Now, one thing I want to show you, we talked about Isogen in terms of research earlier. I did manage to find a flow chart, and I think this is pretty decent. It basically shows you at the top there, you mine the raw isogen, you refine that into refined isogen, which is used to activate services, progenitor alloys, and isoemulsion. So isoemulsion is used for the research, refined isogen is used to activate services, and in order for your alliance to be able to move around the map and join takeovers. Progenitor alloys are then used to refine into these four materials: diodes, cores, emitters, and reactors. And again, these are costs that when you start going to tier 2 and higher services, sorry, they require a number of these cores, diodes, and emitters to be able to activate services. So if I go into my 2-star territory and we look at the costs of those services, for example, with the defense enhancer, we can see that it costs 780,000 refined 2-star isogen, but it also needs 40,000 progenitor emitters. And in order to refine them, they are got from the exact same place within your refinery. So you can see that you've got your 1, 2, 3-star, which you're turning into those materials which were shown on the flow chart, but you've also got what you're turning these progenitor alloys into the specific materials. Obviously, you can get pretty large amounts of these, and these are going to be used. So check which ones you need to refine. Ask your leadership, do we need cores? Do we need diodes? Do we need emitters? Do we need reactors? And obviously check and only refine when you need to. These are not on cooldown. So I will show you if we go to, if I went to refine some cores and I did 10 chests for 100,000, got 5,000 cores, these are not on any form of. You can just go in here and refine as much as you want in one go. So do not do your alloys to your other materials until your alliance needs it. And then obviously you can go hard and fill up ready to activate your services. That is the basics of territory capture. Next thing I want to talk about is a few improvements. Now, things that are my major bugbears. The big problem that I have with territory capture is the schedule. Now, the schedule of these, they have thought about one thing, and that is the fact that EU, APAC, and US servers are all on different generic general time zones, meaning that Tholus Alpha, for example, doesn't run the same time in the US as it does in the EU and APAC, and that is the same for every other TC. So, what that means is it means that the territory times are throughout the day. Now, if I pull the schedule back, you can see that it do run at the same physical time, but obviously because 12 p.m. is a different time in the US as what it is to the EU, for example, they are running obviously at different times in real terms. But these times all run during the day as a rule. 12 p.m. through to 9 p.m. based on this general territory schedule. A lot of this is work time. When TC was launched, we were in obviously COVID times. It was the end of 2020. People seem to have a lot more free time. They were at home more. They were able to do things. I think this is a problem. And I think the way to solve this is to run multiple territories at once. I think all territories should start at either 4, 5, or 6 p.m. And rather than running one territory at a time, there should be maybe 4 or 5 1-stars up at any one time, then maybe 2 or 3 2-stars, and then again 2, 3-stars at any single one time, rather than having one specific slot for one specific system. Because you think there's 54 territories, that's 54 hours-ish of the week where they take, because they all start on the hour. Now, a 1-star is a 30-minute takeover, a 2-star is a 45-minute takeover, and a 3-star is a 1-hour takeover. So it is massive. It's a massive time sink, especially if you think you've got an alliance that has 5 territories. That's potentially about 5 to 6 to 7 hours, including planning and preparation and recrewing and all that sort of thing that you've got to dedicate a week, especially because these are being reset. Sorry, the congestion for these services in the different systems is likely to increase. So I think the time sink is a little bit of a problem with regards to territory capture. The other thing that I'm not happy with is the lack of innovation with regards to services. If we look at Bimasa, for example, my defense enhancer is an 80% increase to mitigation stats. 80% really, really bleeds into the noise. And for the effort and the time that it takes to capture these and to hold these, especially now it's going to be on a quarterly basis every 3 months, these need a buff. These need a boost. This is not enough now in current gameplay for this to actually have any meaning. So they need a massive improvement. The other thing that I do like is that they have started to add some efficiency for ISO emulsion research. Obviously, I've been doing this pretty hardcore, not missed many days for the last 3 years. And when we look at my research, I'm still not maxed out on the current research. And we are going to be getting additional researches added into the territory tree, which again is going to use emulsion. Now, my tree is pretty good, it's pretty well advanced. However, when you go to the end of it, I've got lots of things to level ones and level 2. So I've got a hell of a lot of work to still do before the fact that this tree is actually going to be getting an expansion when the new arc launches in October. So I think either sourcing or efficiency of ISO emulsion is something that really needs to be put to the forefront to be able to make territory capture even more bearable. So that's territory capture. I hope you've all found this useful. I hope you've all learned something, even you veteran players that have been playing TC for 3 years. I hope there's a little nugget in there of something that you maybe didn't know, or that you can take away and use to your advantage. Thank you for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please leave your comments down below. How do you feel about the TC changes? How do you feel about the Monavine being sourced during territory capture? How are you doing with your research tree? Let me know all of your thoughts and feelings down below on territory capture in general. It's been an absolute pleasure to do this for you. If you need anything, please join our Discord. We are always available on there to answer questions or just to have a general bit of banter. That's always absolutely fine. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video on the way out before you go. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and remember that everything is better with lube. Take care and have a wonderful day.